Hi, I'm Priyanka. My height is 5'6 3/4". My astrological sign is Cancer. Being a homebody, sensitive, don't like going out very much. My nickname is Mimi. Mimi. People also pronounce it as Mimi, but I call it Mimi. I wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. I suddenly went from looking like a 11-year-old boy to, having a female's body. I wanted to take photographs for a scholarship that I was applying to for college. And that ended up being my first portfolio that was sent to the Miss India pageant and subsequently to the Miss World pageant and kind of kickstarted my career.
See, that's a very convoluted, complex question. I think that the equity on physical beauty when it comes to women are defined predominantly by the male gaze. And that makes it confusing, that, oh my gosh, your waist is not the right size, or your height's not the right size, or you look a certain way, that makes you beautiful, or that doesn't make you beautiful. So that being judged by the male gaze and the beauty standards that have been created by patriarchal norms, because women have for a very long time lived as secondary citizens, that's hard. But when it came to me, my pageant, it gave me a springboard that I probably wouldn't have had. So individualistically for me, now as I look back in retrospect, I don't think I would ever be a part of a pageant now, this 40-year-old me. But at that time, it was very, very empowering. For a small town girl in a massive stage with 96 contestants being viewed around the world, it just felt like, wow, my life has suddenly changed. The cameras were like that, and now it's all on me. So that was a very empowering feeling. But more than that, it was a springboard to the entertainment business, which I don't think I would have ever had or chosen if that hadn't happened to me. Well, I think that racism is prevalent wherever we go. And I think that when I was younger, I didn't have the mental equipment to be able to deal with how that made me feel. I felt smaller, I felt invisible, I felt like I didn't deserve to be treated the same way as everyone else, because I thought that that's what my reality was. When I was in school, this is like 14, 15, you're an adolescent in America, and I felt like, oh my gosh, maybe being different does make me less than. But as I grew up, I saw that I'm actually I'm a lucky one. That, yeah, sure, I faced racism, people called me names, or, said mean things to me, but people around the world get killed for it, for the color of their skin. And I count myself as the lucky one, part of the lucky few that are able to stand up for themselves and have a voice for themselves. Like, I just went off I went on a social media break myself. I took off Twitter from my phone. It can be a lot sometimes, because you can just never be good enough on social media. No matter what you do, there will always be people that will say, you did this wrong, you wore this wrong, you didn't say something about something, you should have said something about something. And it's just like, you can never please everyone. And I realized that very early in my career as a public person. When I was younger, in my 20s, I really needed everyone to love me, because I was a public person. I was a new entertainer. I was like, why is this person hating me for this reason? Or why is this being written about me for this reason? But I quickly realized, when you're a public person, you are consumed by people. You're literally dinner table conversation. I realized that the only way to protect my sanity and myself was to surround myself by people that are genuinely happy for me, that genuinely love and care about me. And my support system, whether that's my family, my friends, my team, is very strong. So then I don't need my validation from people. I don't need my validation from the comments on social media. I'm not working every day to be famous. I'm working to make movies, to make art, for people to watch what I do, and the byproduct of that happens to be fame. So once I made that distinction and that bifurcation, I think it became a lot easier for me to live a normal life and to just be a normal human being. My parents, for sure. I grew up in an environment where I was not shamed for my ideas. At 12 years old, I told my parents I wanted to live in America with my aunt, and my parents were like, "Bye, peace." It was fine. We had a logical pro and con conversation. I was raised sort of to have opinions, even if the room was hostile. So I think that really gave me a sense of self, and I think it's really important in parenting for us to treat our children like they're developing their own minds, because that's so important for them to have a sense of self and feel like they're not robots, but they're actually thinking and they have a say in their decisions. It really lends for adults being able to have a sense of confidence. And second, to really understand and accept that confidence is not something you always need. You don't, so put it in a backpack. It's okay. Give it a break. Let it be in your purse. Let it be in your wallet. Let it chill for a second. Feel insecure. Feel like scared. Feel afraid. Feel vulnerable. But when you need the confidence and you walk into that room, you'll have it, because you didn't keep using it. You didn't need to constantly have a cover of, or sort of like a uniform of confidence. You don't have to always show confidence. You don't have to exude confidence. You don't. You just have to pull it out when you need it. And then when it's in the reserve, it's so much more powerful, because you're allowing yourself to be all the things. I feel insecure. I'm terrified that this book is coming out. It's the first time I've ever written, and I've never been so personal in my whole life. I've been a public person for 20 years, never scratched beneath the surface. I've gotten away with sharing whatever I wanted to share about my life and not more. My story is, people think they know it, but they really don't. And I've managed that for 20 years. But I think I, now on the other side of 35, was feeling a sense of confidence, and a sense of self in my capabilities, in what I bring to the table. It only took 20 years for me to get there, but I got there. And I think all those insecurities that I address in my book don't scare me that much anymore, as they did at that time. As they worried me, and I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Nobody needs to know about my life. And but now I'm at a place where I'm just like, well, it's still on my terms. And I'm hoping that people maybe get to know me a little bit more than a fashion meme or a headline or something like that. Being an outsider, like being an immigrant in a new country, I mean, I know so many people around the world feel that way. It doesn't necessarily have to be the US, it doesn't have to be India, but just being an immigrant and a global traveler of sorts, and having to try and find your feet, being a woman, and then being a woman of color. There are so many big picture reasons for which I feel like I connect with a lot of people. But more than anything, I'm just a girl with a dream. I come from a really small town, and I am fearless in the face of adversity when it comes to my work. When it comes to my real life, I cry. But when it comes to work, I'm a beast. And I think that is, on that level, I connect with a lot of people around the world, because ambition has no color, it has no language, it has no border or a country. Ambition is pure ambition, and I have it. And I wish for the women of the world to not be afraid to have it, because we've been told for such a long time that ambition is a bad word for a girl. And oh my gosh, she's too ambitious. Like, when did that become a bad thing? And so, I mean, I think I connect with people on that level. Like, sometimes we think our lives are so bad because of all the things that, insecurities and whatever negative feelings we're feeling in life, that we forget how privileged and blessed we are, because of someone else who will always be in a worse position. So I think philanthropy is definitely a social responsibility that is extremely important for privileged people to recognize and understand that, people who are underprivileged, who don't have as much as we do, are our responsibility, because we just have one world. So I walked out with this big train, and I did it for the first time because I was like, oh, it's so pretty and I feel princessy. And after I twirled once, I was twirling all night. All the photographers were like, can you twirl? Can you please twirl? Then even on stage, Tom made me twirl, and I was only twirling.
But that's not normally...
I'm the twirling dancing emoji now. Have you ever seen that?
Weirdly enough, here's your dress, because that's the way look at that. Like, you're not standing over a subway grate with the wind going up. You twirled to make it look like that.
This was my Marilyn Monroe moment.
Yeah, it really was. That's you and the... That's the emoji.
That's me.